Hi, everybody. This is Oscar with Houston in Action. I want to thank all of you for joining us today, Wednesday, as we're preparing for our training for voter mobilization. So I thank everyone for all the amazing work we've done collectively so far, and we want to continue doing some more amazing work together. Our hope is to have this training recorded and then sent out to y'all through our base camp. So if your volunteers have any questions, they can definitely review this. But let's get started. So as we do all the time with HiA, we have a check-in question. And I know I've asked this question in a couple of places, but the answers always change the closer we get to the election. So October 5th is the last day to register to vote. That's 5 days left. And then we have 34 days to the election. So my big question, if y'all want to answer in the chat box, is name, your pronouns, organizations, so other volunteers who are new to the space can get to know you, and how do you want to feel after the election? So please introduce yourself, use the chat to talk to each other and to make some more connections, to ask a lot of questions. Thank you so much, Allison, and I think we all want to be happy to. As y'all answer the check-in questions, I wanted to talk a little bit about myself, as I know that I've been able to communicate with a lot of you differently through our organizing efforts, but I wanted to share why this matters to me. And my name is Oscar Hernandez. I am a community organizer with Houston in Action. I'm undocumented, and a brief thing that comes to mind whenever I think about what's going on with the elections are a lot of the little boogers you see here. I don't mean that literally, but my nephews are all over this picture. And when I was a kid, I actually grew up in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Most people only think of Scranton because of The Office. My father was assistant to the regional manager. No, it's a bad joke. But anyways, when we were kids, I remember my mom and my dad, we lived in a 2-story apartment. And one day my mother, after having a conversation with my father, got my brother, my sister, and I, and they took us outside of the apartments which we lived in. In the streets in Pennsylvania, in Scranton, there's alleys through every street. So she took us to a back alley, and she started to tell us, one day, if you see that your father and I, and she had us lined up like a row of ducks, my brother, my older brother, me, my younger sister. And she said, if you see one day that your father and I are being put into this big white bus, she said, I want you to take this alley and I want you to walk to your grandmother's house. She said, do not run, walk. And I was maybe about 7 years old when she said that. I did not understand what she was referring to, because I took the school bus every day and I figured, like, what's the big deal with this bus? But the fact is that as I got older, I realized quickly what she meant by that, and the weight that a lot of people go through struggling being undocumented like myself in this country. And that's actually why I became an organizer, because I think about my nephews and a lot of little kids right now who their parents are giving them that same story, that same warning, who have to grow up really fast understanding what it is and how the political world affects us. So I organize because I think about my community, because I love my community, because and I think about all these little kids who are my age who are probably hearing this warning from their parents. And that's why I'm hoping to mobilize as many people to vote. And FYI, on a personal note, been texting a lot of people, 21 people on my own. I help register to vote. So that's just a personal thing. That's outside of the phone banks, because we need to get some people active. But let's jump into our training for today. So let's review what the agenda is going to look like for this conversation. Today we will be going over Houston in Action, our culture and equity. We're going to be talking about what our I know it says our daily sign-in forms, big update. We don't need those anymore for those who were in the conversations before. But we will be going over the materials, what our logging into our dialer system is going to look like, the C3, C4 laws. We're hoping that this turns into a bit of a discussion as well. And then to answer any questions you'll have about the auto dialer, reviewing practicing the script, And it says start making calls because we would love for y'all to start making calls right after. So for today, for those of you new into this space, who is Houston or what is Houston Action? We are a collaborative effort of, I don't know how many at this point, but well over 50 different organizations, nonprofits who are in Houston and Harris County. And through our efforts, we've been able to mobilize thousands of our communities of color. Our big focus is to organize within these different nonprofits, but as Houston Action, our membership is the organizations. So we're not actively working in the field with the community. We're more working with our membership as these organizations work within. And this is just some theme of few. And within this, every time we come together, I know this is something that everyone is familiar with. I hope so. It's our working principles as we want to ground ourselves with what it is that we want to commit to every time we come to a training and every time we want to move forward with our work. And the spirit, my preferred working principle to always look over is our equity and systems level change. To us, what this means is actively working to rebalance civic power by changing systems that affect civic participation amongst communities who have been historically marginalized because of racism, sexism, and other forms of discrimination. So I bring this up as I hope to ground ourselves even as we're making these calls to why we're doing it, because I think we firmly believe that even though we're going through this process in the elections, that we can change the system to a way that it actually reflects the most marginalized communities. So before we also get started on everything, this is a new thing we wanted to cover with everyone. That is that we have some voter mobilization agreements. Now, if at any point anyone here disagrees with any one of these, please voice yourselves. We would love to hear your thoughts on this. Okay, I'm sorry if folks were knocked out. If I'll make sure to keep an eye out to make sure that people are added back into the call, but I'll keep an eye on to that. Thank you, Dorothy, for letting me know. So all the information that we see on screen, scripts, and are shared via calls is confidential and will not be shared out of this phone bank. So we want to make sure that that probably should be R. But all the information that y'all will be seeing once you join our dialer is completely confidential. And as volunteers means that you cannot write down someone's phone number that you see from the dialer. No, you cannot call them back from your phone line. That information stays within the dialer and stays within our systems. The second thing for our agreements is that this is a non-partisan voter mobilization effort. What that means is that we're not telling people who to vote for or against. We'll get more into the C3, C4 of in case somebody feels really passionate about, no, I want to tell people who to vote for. We'll get more into places that you might be able to do that, but this is not what this dialer system is for or what our voter mobilization efforts are for. We want to make sure that you also keep your own personal partisan beliefs. We'll get more in touch with that again about why this is important in terms of perception when we get to the C3, C4 conversation. But one thing we do want to make sure is that you definitely can share your story and the issues that you care about. It's how we talk about that makes a big difference. Now, as we're in this space, I want to keep in mind that we also agree to send any issues to your organizational lead or HiA staff. And we'll clarify what we mean by issues and then what the process is to do that. And then when talking to media, we agree not to talk on behalf of Houston in Action unless you're trained by HiA staff or your organizational lead. So unless you're trained by somebody to talk to media, please do not speak on behalf of HiA. But if you really do want to, and that's something the space you want to do, we do strongly encourage it. We just want to make sure you have all the training you need so we don't end up in a weird place. Now, before we get started with the overall training, again, we want to make sure that we understand the process of how we are communicating with each other and what we're building off of for the entirety of the training. We're hoping to make these calls within the next 4 to 5 weeks consecutively. So the big hopes is that from now to the elections that we can improve on this process as much as possible. So one thing is that if you have any tech necessities, and this is specifically for the volunteers, we want to make sure that that you know what works with our systems and what doesn't. we're going to talk about this system, these tech necessities a lot through this training, because a lot of the times people have been reaching out to us. Like I saw one of the reports where someone kept saying, oh, the dialer doesn't work with my system. I'm having a laptop. Why is it not working? And then through like after 30 minutes of troubleshooting, we realized, oh, they don't have Wi-Fi. So if you do not have Wi-Fi, you really will not be able to use the system. We want to make sure that you're connected to an accessible Wi-Fi that is going to support your efforts. The second thing is that Apple products are unfortunately one of the hardest things to use through the system. So that means that even though we can use desktops, laptops, Chromebooks, tablets mainly with Android on them, but not iPads. They're not supported by the systems. The preferred browser to use is Chrome. You can use Firefox, but Firefox ends up causing issues with the microphone. We don't know what that's attributed to, and Safari is not supported for this. So if you need to download Chrome to your desktop, laptop, Chromebook, or tablet, please make sure to do so, as that will be the best way, or probably the only way for you to make these calls appropriately. If you have any questions, please, by all means, use the chat box so we can go through that. The second thing is that we did a lot of learning through Census and voter registration. And for those of you who've been with us for the last couple of months doing phone calls, we will not have the system that we used before using Basecamp. There were too many questions coming in, and there was not a way to actually funnel what are the immediate responses that you need to have versus what are the ones that we needed to troubleshoot. So for all the volunteers here, if you're here, I'm assuming it's because you talked to someone from an organization, and someone with that organization included you here. Now I'm gonna pick on Gina just because I see her in the camera. Thank you so much, Gina, for showing your face. But in other words, what this would look like is that if you have any issues like, I don't know how to download Chrome, or I don't know, like, what does Wi-Fi mean, message Gina. Gina can help you. We want to make sure that all the organizers and all the other folks who are the leads of the organization have a good relationship with your volunteers, and a lot of that takes in building the relationships through troubleshooting and fixing errors. That's one of our big hopes. So as we go through that process, if there is something that is much bigger than that, like, you know what, my calls are not coming through, the system is not responding, then Gina can reach out to us as HiA, and we'll be able to support to figure out what the problem is. Now, the difference of before is that we had two drastic different campaigns between census and voter engagement, but now it's just voter mobilization. So we know that we can funnel this in a process where we can respond to you as soon as possible. So again, if there's any questions, feedbacks, or thoughts on this, please feel free to use the chat portion, as we'll be able to answer any questions you might have. The last thing that we want to share is that we have a frequently asked questions page specifically for systems. Anna, if you can please put it in the chat, that would be really helpful. This is also included in the Basecamp for the voter engagement table, which all the organizational leads should have access to that. So if you lose it at any point, you will be able to get it through there, and that'll tell you a lot of, hopefully that'll narrow down the troubleshooting. And just know, we do really expect people to read the frequently asked questions documents, because if you send us an email about a specific thing, we might not be able to break through everything. We'll most likely send you the frequently asked questions so you can read through what the process is there. So that way you can have the answers you want when you need them. Okay, another thing, caller connections. Yuka, who is going to be leading our trainings, is here. If you want to say hi, Yuka. Oh, the mic.
On mute. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Yuka, and I will be leading what? You want me to go into it, Oscar, about caller connection?
Go into it a bit, and then I can follow.
Sure. So what we wanted to do was basically have a space that we're calling Caller Connection for volunteers to be able to have space to talk about anything that's coming up for them, what they've been hearing from calls, challenges, concerns, sharing feedback with each other, and just trying to get more information on how to yeah, address certain calls, right? They're going to be hearing all different kinds of things, having all different kinds of conversations with people. So this is just a space to move through all of the things that will be coming up. So.
Thank you so much, Yuka. Yeah, so we want to have this space open for volunteers, for organization leads. We do want to hear from volunteers. Like if folks have an issue that we want to handle, we prefer to do it through this time frame. And trust me, a lot of this is going to make a lot more sense once we go through the C3, C4 conversation. Why we're being this careful and why we want to make sure that there's a process for it. But we do hope that all the volunteers can talk to your organizational lead. Because we've had questions like, this isn't calling anyone out. There's nothing wrong with this, but we have had places where somebody was like, oh, I don't know my password to my email. I really like, as the staff are running these trainings and we need to move a lot of things, we wouldn't be able to help them with those questions. And if I was on the field doing a lot of the trainings, I would definitely love to answer those questions because it allows me to build a stronger relationship with the volunteers. But we're hoping that all the organizational leads are able to take that. And one of the last questions that we have here, like things that we would love to hear is, did you hear any weird questions? And we're gonna get into what we mean by weird questions. So when we say weird questions, really what we mean is like, you're on a call talking to somebody and someone says, oh, so who do you think is a bad pick for president? How would y'all answer this question? Feel free to unmute yourself and give input.
What I typically say when asked that question is that we're not at a liberty to discuss who is a good or bad pick. Our entire motivation is to get you guys motivated to vote. So I have no personal, I guess, input on who's a bad choice.
Thank you so much. How does everybody feel? Thumbs up, you think that's a good one? There's reactions you can use on this. Thumbs up if you think it's good, or claps if you think it's bad. Well,
I think it's good.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Allison. Thank you, Tana. I think that was Tana that popped up. So thank you for sharing that. And yes, that's actually how we want to answer these questions. But let's say someone asks you, how many Democrats or Republicans are you calling? How would y'all answer that question?
We are nonpartisan. We don't call or respond based on party lines. We are nonpartisan.
Thank you again.
Yes, most definitely.
Awesome, thank you so much. All right, here's another question. If I donate money to your organization, will my candidate get supported?
My question.
Again, we're nonpartisan.
Thank you so much. I also heard someone else.
I was gonna say the same thing.
So if you notice that big theme that y'all are doing, we are nonpartisan. That really means that we are not able to answer these questions. Like even the last question that I don't think we need to get into, which is, I have a list of people that are going to vote for my candidate. Can you call them as well? Same response. We're nonpartisan. We can't do. We cannot make those calls. Now I know the last one is actually a little weirder too, because they're not technically asking you to what your candidate is. They're asking if you can make calls for one of their candidates. But trust me that there are going to be a lot of questions. I'll use same. Okay. There are going to be a lot of questions that are going to come in like this, and we're going to get into the C3, C4 conversation in a bit. But that is because there are progressive organizations, or at least organizations that are perceived as progressive, that are being targeted at this moment. There are people who are trying to catch people and breaking C3, C4 laws. And so they will make questions that might not seem like it's directly partisan. Like even the first one. So who do you think is a bad pick for president? Like that does not seem like it's a partisan question, but but your response can give the perception of partisanship. And unfortunately, just that perception alone can cause a huge problem. And I mean legal issues within how we move forward. where someone can take that recording and blow it out of proportions. So if you follow Houston in Action online, you might have also noticed that we got a lot of people from one party or another coming in there, voicing their opinions strongly. And if you were our text bankers before, you would have seen a lot of these texts. And these texts can get really rough sometimes. If you get any weird questions or negative feedback, you do not have to stay with them on the call. And Blanca will talk more about that towards the end. But we do want to be able to collect these weird questions and know what's being asked. If you have any issues at all, talk to your organizational lead or to Anna Knott, who's also on this call. Her email is anna@houstonaction.org. So the next big thing, again, C3, C4 laws. Whenever I say, if people understand what is the difference between a C3 and C4 laws, I usually get the same question, which is, what is a C3, C4 law? Someone told me that 501c3 sounded like the robot from Star Wars. I know it's a bad joke, but everyone's muted, so I'm gonna pretend y'all laughed at that one. But here's the big thing. When we think about what 501c3 is and what 501c4 is, one is to remember is that a 501c3 cannot endorse a candidate. That means, and you all will be making calls as a 501c3, meaning that you are not gonna endorse any candidate for any reason. The second thing is that 501c3s are nonpartisan. And by that I mean that that we will not, this is nonpartisan registration, nonpartisan get out to vote drive, nonpartisan as a whole. We're not telling people what party to lean on or what candidate to lean on. 501c4, they can endorse a candidate. They can also donate directly to candidates. And sometimes they are titled as PACs or super PACs. Now, there are a lot more details between the difference between a C3 or C4, but for the purpose of this training, we want to focus specifically on these. Just in case someone on a call says, hey, I'm part of a super PAC, can y'all join us by helping us by making calls? Even if it's for the candidate that you like, the answer is no, because we cannot join super PACs or PACs. But what we can do, oops, let me see. As do's and don'ts, one is that we want to make sure that you definitely can engage people on an issue. So but by that I mean if there's something, thank you, John. By that I mean that if there's somebody who you're talking to and you realize, oh, like this person has my background, this person seems to care about the things that I care about, like we want you to share that with them. Because our role through this call is to make sure that people are inspired or motivated to move. A lot of things happening right now. A lot of our community might not necessarily feel like this matters. So our big role and or the most important thing that you're doing today is making sure that they understand how much it matters and having them, encouraging them to vote. You could talk about why voting matters to you. So even talking about like, I'm voting because of my, like this specific issue, this specific reason, I'm voting for my family, or I'm voting because my community matters to me. Like all these are important things to do. It's not that I'm voting to get someone in office or someone out of office. That's in the don't section. But you can also share general information. So like dates and where to vote and all that information is on both on our website, and you will have access to all of that. We please ask everyone to follow the script. Now that this doesn't mean verbatim, you're not robots, okay? You're not here to just read word by word. Follow the script as it says there, but feel free to improvise when needed. And if you hear any weird questions, please, I can't stress that enough, send that our way. Now on the don'ts, what we want to do, and again, if you have any questions or if it's something that this feels a little uncomfortable to you, please just make sure to add your questions in the chat portion. So what we don't want people to do is support a specific candidate or parties or races or for an elected office, sorry. That's a big one. I know we said this a lot, but I can't tell you enough why this is so important. There has been literal nonprofit groups that have fallen apart because their volunteers were trained poorly. And I really do believe that it came to a lack of training with the volunteers. And then they were recorded for doing something that they shouldn't have, and then the organization can no longer continue. And sometimes it takes something that small. which is why we want to make sure that everyone here is trained properly, and that if you have any questions about this, that we can figure this out together. So message should not favor or oppose a candidate. This means that the message does not need to identify the candidate by name to be prohibited. So that's a specific thing. You can't just say, well, you know who I'm talking about, right? You know who's the problematic person. You know, we can't gesture in ways like that. Unfortunately, I would like to be as specific as possible, but this is where I have to remember it's a C3 space, not a C4 space. And don't answer weird questions. So there's nothing wrong if someone says something that you're uncomfortable with or don't know how to answer, to say, I don't know the answer to that question, but we can follow up with you. And you can make a note of it and then follow up with us so we can talk to the person or better yet, give you the ideal response for how to respond to them. And that also helps us in our frequently asked questions page, where we can update that based on the responses that are coming in. All right, so I want to pause really quick to hear from people. Oh, here we go. One of the first questions: can we be specific about the issues and say, I'm voting because environment is important for me and because women's rights are high on my list? Yes, that response is it's shy away from what being partisan is. Here's the tricky part: what constitutes as partisan and nonpartisan shifts a lot. Especially right now, where apparently, you know, caring about the environment can be considered a partisan issue, which it is not. But being able to give responses in that way helps putting it in this place where even if it's argued that it is partisan, you can clearly say, well, they didn't mention a candidate, they didn't mention a party, they didn't even hint to a specific direction, which is completely fine. What if someone asks us who the more Christian candidate is? We just reframe nonpartisan, right? So yes, reframe nonpartisan, even though Christianity is not that is a really weird question, by the way. But even though Christianity is not and should not be or a religious belief should not be a partisan question. But again, this is where perception comes in. So if someone says, who is the most Christian candidate? I would bring it back to our values. I'd say, and values in research, you know, I value voting because of X, Y, Z, and I did research and look it up. Feel free to look up who's running for office and who's running to that. But my goal is to just encourage that you vote. But thank you so much, because that, again, very weird question.
Oscar, I was gonna add, hello everyone, this is Anna McNaught. I was gonna add that for that kind of question that Frederick asked, we will have in the section of resources, we'll definitely ask, refer folks to the League of Women Voter guide that will have all of the candidates. They will have also you know, how they stand on a lot of issues, and it's going to be almost unedited as long as there's no bad words. They literally just copy paste from whatever the candidates provide to them. So as we go more into the resources, that will also be available so that they can inform themselves about the issues that they care about, and they can make that informed decision of who they will vote for. Thank you for that question.
Yes, thank you very much. And Tana also asked, can we suggest they look up the candidate? Of course you can. You could definitely tell them, look up the candidate and see where they stand. And even have a mixture of these three conversations. So if you say, women's rights are important to me, that's why I vote. And they ask, well, who's better at women's rights? Then that's what you would say, this is why I encourage you to look up the candidates, and they can make that decision up for themselves. Because we might feel like one candidate is better for women's rights, but someone else might actually feel that the other candidate's better for women's rights. And what we don't want to do is for people to interpret how we feel as encouraging them to vote for our candidate. That's where it can get really difficult. But as long as you can have, and remember, like C3 calls means that we want to encourage people to vote. That's the goal. Not to vote for a specific party, not to vote for a specific candidate. And not even necessarily to vote for a specific issue. At least that's not what we're doing. But we are sharing issues and through our values and through how we're talking to them. And then if they agree with those issues and values, then asking them to vote, and then they can decide what candidate they feel meets the needs that they want to get. Are there any other questions? Here's one other caveat that I've shared in other places. I recently looked up, there's this specific project that again is going into these different progressive groups and spaces to looking to see who's breaking 501c3 or C4 rules. I've heard two big stories that have really got me concerned about how we're managing even volunteers within the space. We definitely need our community to volunteer. We definitely want them to volunteer. But the way that we keep in bringing and helping our community is to make sure that the space is safe as a whole, and that the volunteers who are coming into the space have the same values and can actually meet these requirements that we need, which is why this process is a little different. First story I would share is that there was literally a young woman of color who donated over $4,000 just to get into a specific organization as a funder, and then through that process was able to write down and just to check what they were doing wrong. Like her entire intention of being part of that organization was to catch them to breaking C3, C4 laws. Another thing that happened was that there was a volunteer who went to a C3 space, put on their hat, put on their shirts, grabbed their chart, and then when they went out to door knocking and canvassing, they were actually encouraging people to vote for their candidate. And then they were recording themselves and taking photos of themselves in this organization's outfit. So yes, it's really weird out there, and yes, we need to be careful, as careful as possible. So that's a really good question. What if the caller asks, "Who are you voting for?" Is your response, "I am not allowed to share that information"? So here's where it really comes down to and how comfortable you want people to feel. If someone says, "I'm not allowed to share that information," it might sound a little sketchy, right? Like, what do you mean you're not allowed? That might actually get more questions. I think a better way to answer the question would be, I want to encourage you to vote for who you think is the best candidate. Like, I have my decision made. This is, my intention is not to sway you to one candidate or another. And we could even go back to the previous response, which was, this is a nonpartisan space. We just want to make sure that you're voting. And if they're pushing on it, oh, thank you so much, Simona. I was wondering why Tana's voice sounded a little different. But if they're pushing on it, at some point, if you feel like, look, then you can maybe say that, look, I'm not at liberty to disclose that information. If they're really pushing on it, and if they continue to push on it, you do not have to answer that question. If at any point you feel uncomfortable or you feel like they're trying really hard, just make sure to make a note of it so we know like what questions are coming in. Yes, thank you. Or you can say, if you're undecided specifically, you can say undecided. Thank you so much, Crystal, for that response. Any last questions about this? Okay, awesome. Blanca, if you're on the call, I'm going to pass it on to you in a bit.
Yeah, sorry about that, about who you're voting for. I think you can also like turn it around on them, you know, and saying like, this is a call for them, about what they care about, not what you care about. I mean, you can definitely talk about what you care about, but I think it's more about like, we're interested in knowing what you care about. We will provide you resources to find out what the candidates care about and what they will push to do if they're elected. But I think it's more about like how you reframe it to go back about what that person on the other end of the line wants to actively advocate for through their vote.
Yeah, and Jesse brings a good point. Like saying you're undecided might even like eliminate the whole conversation. It might also get them to try to convince you to vote for who they want to. So so that's why when you're talking to people, like think of these calls as a conversation, and we'll get more into what that looks like versus like a direct follow the script message. But I'm gonna pass it on to Blanca.
Thank you, Oscar. And thank you, everyone. Those are really, really good questions. for this training. Those are perfect. So we're kind of like along on those lines of who we're talking to, right? I want to start before we go over the script to just to go over like who are these people that we're trying to reach. And I think the script, the way we build the script, it's gonna make sense, right? As you know, as you understand the community, right? So we, Houston in Action, and you know the groups that are working together on this, we're trying to turn out low propensity voters, right? Communities of color in Harris County. Now, what does this mean? This means that we're trying to reach people who they don't go out to vote. They don't go to out in the, you know, during their local municipal elections or the state elections or their federal elections. They don't go out to vote, right? So most of them, they just don't want to. People like the, you know, politicians don't include them in their turnout list. These are people who nobody really wants to talk to because they don't turn out to vote, right? So what we're gonna be trying to do, it's what is called like a persuasion campaign, right? We're gonna persuade a person to go out and vote. Most of these people will probably lean a way or another based on their issues, but they're still not like, they don't feel strongly enough to go out and vote. So that's where we come in, and that's where our conversations come into place. And just to set expectations, we expecting people to just say, I don't want to go vote, right? I don't believe in the system. It doesn't work out for me, right? So we are actually expecting those conversations on the phone, right? So it might be for those people that allow you to have a conversation that is going to be strongly, as Anna mentioned, focused on their issue, what they care about, right? So this is, like I mentioned, right, low propensity voters, they don't usually go out to vote. They're communities of color, because these communities of colors are the ones that, you know, tend to vote even less. So that's why we're focusing on communities of color. And even though we didn't purposely choose a model on income, for the most part, all of like our group is also communities that are low income, right? If you think about the census and the communities that we're trying to focus on the census, there's overlap. Communities who are not counted during the census usually also tend to be communities who do not vote during elections, right? So as we all know, it's a cycle, right? All of this is a cycle. And we're trying to, you know, get people involved and to take action, right? To get better better services, better systems that work for and in favor of our communities of color. Okay, so that said, we're gonna move on to the script. So the script, it focuses on like a couple of parts. You have your introduction, and then you have your set of questions, right, and your conclusion. Now, the strong part of our script is going to be our introduction. And why is that? Is because, you know, people are gonna want to hang up on us. So there's where like we need to have like the strong opening, so the person doesn't easily just, you know, say, no, I'm not interested. I don't want to hear it. You know, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to talk to you. We're trying to make this engaging for them, right? So we are sharing, and I'm going to drop it here in the chat, the link to the script. So this is a script that we want you to have always handy, right? Bookmark it on your computer. But keep it in handy, because we are not, you will not see this whole thing in the dialer. So it's gonna be, this time in the dialer is gonna be a lot more stuff. So it might not be easy to follow. So please have it handy on your bookmarks. So as you're making calls, you can follow it a little bit, right? However, if you, like, as we read through this a little bit, it's gonna be missing the opening. So the opening is going to happen here. Each one of you are going to have a unique opening based on your experience and what you care about. Okay. Now, as Anna mentioned, once again, this is not about you, but you want to, because of this is also like non-partisan, we want to make sure that the person understands that we're talking about issues. We're not talking about a person or just going out to vote for the sake of voting. We want something to change. We want something to be done. We want people to take action for a reason, right? And all of this goes back to the issue, okay? And also as when, you know, when they ask you about who do I vote for, it's just like, this is about what your issue is, what you care about, what matters to you, then who are the candidates that work on that, right? That fit your criteria of someone who is a good candidate. So what we're going to be doing right now, right? And Yuka and I, by the way, are going to be doing, we're gonna do role play on the script. And then we're gonna pick on some of you to do also role plays, right? So I want us to walk through this, through the whole script first, and then each one of us are going to identify an issue, right? That is personal. And actually, I would like us to identify 3, but at least 1 of the issues. Now, first we have our script, right? That it starts, hi, this is Blanca, I'm with Houston in Action, may I speak with Mary, right? And then Mary is gonna say, oh yeah, this is her. They say, hi, Miss Mary, we're reaching out to voters in our community here in Harris County because this is a very important election coming up. To me, this election is very important because, right, and that's where you start, where your script, your personal story that you're going to use. We didn't, like, while we have this, you know, general statement of, you know, politicians make decisions on laws, on policies, ordinances that affect all of our families on a daily basis, which is great, but I think we need to bring it closer to home, right? Why us? Like, why? What are those policies? What are those ordinances? What are those laws that affects us? And instead of giving a general idea of what that could possibly be, right? We want to bring it to the issue that I care about, that affects me, my family, my friends, and the people that I care about, right? And then we're gonna direct the question to them, right? So that is why I think these elections are important, and that's why we should go out and vote. What is your issue that you care about, right? So we make it about them, and then we let them talk and just tell us about the issue that they care about. It can be any issue, right? It could be lighting on the streets. It could be someone who's in jail in their family, someone who, you know, that, you know, like, that is not allowed to enter into the country. Like, it can be a range of issues, right, that the person can talk about. And once the person, like, gives you their story, then we're gonna reaffirm their story, right? We wanna make sure that they know that we're hearing them. So we're gonna validate that issues. Hey, you know, I hear you. Do we have issues on our healthcare system? And you're right, we need people who can come and, you know, create policies that allow our families to have access to good healthcare, right? So then the person's like, it's, you know, like linking their issue that affects them personally to the elections, right? And this is an action that I can take now to make a change, right? It's like the first step on making that change, right? And we're gonna go a little bit more into that in a little bit, but as we continue with the conversation, we're gonna ask them, you know, you said that this was important to you, and these politicians can make decisions based, you know, that can make policies, laws on this specific issue. Don't you think that it's like worth voting for, right? Do you commit to go out and vote for that issue that you care about? And the person, again, is gonna say yes or no, right? If they say no, right, we wanna once again do one last push of, hey, you know, like, it is important, we know changes don't come easily right away, but this is the first step to make, you know, to take action and then make them accountable, right? This is not the last thing. We don't just put them into office, but we also want to make sure that they're made accountable. We also, need to pressure them. We need to, sign petitions, send letters, make calls, and make sure that, these politicians do what they need to be doing, right? So we kind of like once again bring it back to, these are the people who make and pass laws, policies, ordinances that can do something about that issue that you care about, right? And of course, like we're trying to change their mind. However, if they don't change their mind, after 2 or couple of times that we try, it's like saying why it's important based on the issue that they care about, right? Because we always want to use that issue that they mention. We only use their issue at first to introduce like the reason why an election is important, but we continue using their issue that they mention as in, we can do something about it. Someone can do something about this that you care about. And that is the reason that why you should go out and vote, right? So if they do say yes, they want to go out and vote, then we're gonna do our follow-up questions, right? Of if they say, yes, we're gonna vote, hey, great, I'm glad you're gonna go out and vote. How are you gonna vote? Are you gonna vote early? Are you gonna vote by mail? Are you gonna vote in person? Now, these questions are for the person to make a plan in their mind. It's more likely that person is gonna go through with a commitment when they have thought through the plan of actually, like the vision of making it happen, right? So then the person will say, well, I'm not sure, right? Or they're gonna say, well, you know what? I prefer to do it by, early vote. Then we're gonna offer, and we're gonna walk through this part so where we can find this specific information and resources on how to answer these questions in a little bit. But that's kind of like the next step, right? How are you gonna vote? The person is gonna say, hey, I'm gonna vote an early vote. And then we're gonna say, great, I can help you find your polling location. Is this still your current address? And then we can search for them. We will search for them and give them that. If they say, I'm gonna vote by mail, they say, great, did you already request your ballot? And the person say, yes, no. And then we're gonna tell them, okay, great, the process to request a ballot is like this. You need to apply it, then it gets sent to you. It needs to be done by this date. Once you receive it, it needs to be submitted then by this other date. And once again, we're gonna have this information in some links, and also depending on some of our script included. So you have that information handy as you're talking to people, because we know not every single person is gonna say that they're gonna vote early. Not every single person is gonna say that they're gonna vote by mail, but somewhere along the line, you're gonna find a person who will be interested in knowing where is their closest polling location, and we wanna make sure that you have the resources or where to find that info. If they say that they want to go and vote on election day, we want to encourage them to vote during the early vote. I always bring them out to, hey, don't you there's gonna be multiple places open on early vote. You can vote anywhere. Maybe it's on your way to the groceries or on your way back. If you do that, some people don't do that. Or if you don't feel comfortable voting like that, there's some, like on the third week, I think it's the third week of early vote, there's gonna be a 24-hour polling location where you can go like late if you don't want to have a lot of people around, right? So you can walk the person through the different process, ways to early vote, and also them not being able to be around people because we know COVID is going on. So you can encourage the person to say, go vote early. Now, the reason is why we want people to vote early is because on election days, usually you have long lines and all this stuff, and you never know what's going to happen on election day. And especially this is elections, they're funny, right? So we want to encourage as many people as possible to vote early, right? And we want to provide their closest polling location, or if they have something else, say, hey, you know what, I usually go pick up my kid, my comadre, or someone, or go visit them, and it's close to this address, there's something close there, we can then provide, the closest polling location that is to wherever they usually go to, right? I think that's important that we are able to do that, right? Just to make sure that the person has a plan. After they kind of walk you through their plan of voting, we also want to ask them, do you have a valid voter ID, right? In Texas, we need to have an ID in order to go out and vote. So we need to make sure that the person has everything they need in order to make their, to cast their ballot. We need to provide all the information. So we're giving some examples of voter IDs here in the script. However, some people might say, you know what, I'm still not sure. I really do not know if I have one, or they're just gonna say, I don't have one. I really don't have any IDs. I have been having issues getting an ID, right? And all this stuff. And then we're gonna say, hey, you know what we're gonna do, we're gonna pass along your information to this organization that's called Vote Writers. They're gonna follow up with you, and they're gonna go through all the different methods and ways that you can use as an ID. So they will help you to go out and vote, to cast your ballot, right? So we are doing that. We're sending that information to Vote Writers. So we definitely want that to pass that along to the people who are unsure, right? It doesn't have, like, if they're unsure, we pass them along to Vote Writers just to make sure that the person is able to go out and vote. We want to make sure that everyone's able to do that. Two more things on the script, right? Like, it's also like the sharing with friends. We want to ask, hey, will you please talk to your friends? Will you commit to talk to them? Tell them how important it is that they go out and vote. They go and vote for people that will do something about the issues that they care about. Because we are not able to talk to every single person, right? We're gonna be calling on the phones. We're gonna talk to 1, 2, 3% of our list. If we're lucky, the 3%, right? So we need to make sure that the word is passed along, right? So how we do that? Just, word of mouth. So we want to make sure that we're asking people, hey, you talk to your friends, talk to your kids, daughters, comadres, cousins, uncles, whatever, whomever you know, right? To encourage them to go out and vote and tell them how important this is, and how we are all these policies and laws that are being implemented really affects us, and these people who are getting elected are the ones doing it. And then, of course, the other question that we're adding, it's, will you allow us to, will you be okay if we send you automated messages, voice and text? Now, the reason we want to add this one is because we are gonna do passes during the last and second week of early vote, to remind people about to go out and vote. Hey, you said you were gonna go out and vote. Don't forget, the selections, like early vote going on right now. You can vote at any, polling location. This is a number where you can find more info and a recorded message. So our volunteers and everyone who's making calls can concentrate on talking to new people as we're making the multiple passes. Now, not everyone's gonna agree. Not everyone wants to have a recorded call, and that is fine. But we do want to ask those people that we're able to talk to, right? And then we're just, thanking them for their time, right? That they stay with us on the phone, wishing them a good rest of their day, and moving on to our next call, right? So that's pretty much the script, right? So as some of you, I think most of you have made calls on voter registration. So it's very similar, except that we really want you to do a strong opening, right? So what we're gonna do right now, we're gonna go over these, some examples that we can use, right? So the elections, because we're nonpartisan, right? This allows us also to be a lot more flexible on what we can focus on the issue, right? So we have federal level, right? So we have the president, the U.S. congressmen, the U.S. senators that pass those laws that affects us, countrywide, right? So we have that level. And then we also have the state level. We have the governors, and then the state senators, the state congressmen, right, that pass laws and ordinances, policies within the state of Texas. And then we also have the level, the county level, right, the local level, where we have, the sheriff, the county, the attorney, the county attorney. We have the tax collector. We have all of local judges, right? So we have all of those at the local level. So ideally, right, what we want to have are multiple issues that we can talk about. And I think all of us care about something, right? Well, about more than one something, right? About multiple issues. So what I want you to do is think about an issue on each of the levels. What is an issue that I care about at the federal level, right? That I want to you know, make sure that people get elected and do something about that, or stop something that, you know, that it's something that matters to me. Whatever that is, immigration laws, it can be healthcare, it can be anything that happens right at the federal level. Then think about the state level, right? The governor, the state congressmen, state senators, what do they do, right? What are some laws, what are some ordinances, policies that they pass that, you know, affects us, that, you know, be there because we like them or we don't like them? What are some of those things that really matter to us, that we want someone that is elected as a US senator or as a US congressman to do something about it, right? And then let's think about an issue on the local level, right? What is something that that it's done at the local level, right, that you care about, that you will like want someone that is elected to do something about it that would affect your county, your city, your precinct, your school district, right? It doesn't have to be like the whole county. Like for instance, I could say I really care about, you know, like being having, you know, lights in my neighborhood, or sidewalks, or I want to make sure that our judges are fair, right? I want to make sure that you know, like our property taxes, you know, get distributed fairly across, you know, like the cities and the county. It can be a range of issues that can affect you and or your family, right? So just think about that. Just take a moment, think about it. And if you have an issue, like I said, at least one, any of those. And if you have an issue in your mind ready, that's it, like this issue, this is something that I want to go out, young people to go out and vote for. Raise your hand. You can use your little, what is that thing again, Oscar? The icon thing?
Reaction.
Yes. Okay, and like if you have an issue that you can think about, that you can use in a conversation, just do the thumbs up on your screen. And you can put it in the chat as well. And I know you'll have issues. Thank you, Gina. Because I know you all care about this. Thank you, John. You have already, like some of you have already posted something in the chat. Thank you, Danielle, Oscar, and in the chat earlier as during the introduction. So what we're gonna do, just to get, because we're gonna pick on people, just so y'all know, just to get the practice, because it does take some practice just to have the conversation. Now, for some people, it's a little bit more difficult to talk about a personal experience, right? But I think this is why we want to do this, right? So you feel comfortable talking to another person about an issue that you care about. So Yuka and I are going to do a role play right now, and just so you'll know, we did not practice. So so let's see how that goes. And also pay attention. So if you see things that could have been improved, right? Like, oh, you know, you said that, but maybe you shouldn't have said that. Like, you know, listen to those things, right? Because we're here to learn from each other and what the conversations look like and, you know, sound like. Sometimes they just kind of come out weird, right? And that's fine. That is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with having like a somewhat awkward conversation. That's just the nature, right, of this. So Yuka and I are gonna have this conversation. We're gonna have a pretend thing. I'm gonna call her, right? So I'm gonna be the caller. She's gonna be the voter. I'm gonna try to convince her to go out and vote. Okay, so Yuka, are you ready? Okay, so ring ring.
Hello?
Hi, this is Blanca with Houston in Action. Is Yuka available?
With who?
Houston in Action. Is this Yuka?
Oh, yeah, it's me.
Hi, Yuka. We're calling our community here in Harris County to talk about the importance of the elections. Do you know they were coming up already?
Yeah, I figured they were coming up already.
Yes, well, we just want to make sure that we talk about how important it is to go out and vote. I personally think that elections are very important because we're electing people who can make a difference on our daily lives. We know all these elected politicians pass policies, pass laws, ordinances.
How do you even, how do I know who to vote for? Like, everything is so messy.
Well, this is why, you know, we think about the issues that we care about. Like, for instance, one of the issues that I really care about is healthcare. Just earlier this year, my mom had really bad healthcare issues and left us with this huge debt. And then, you know, having to decide between, you know, her health and do we pay? How do we go about this, right? So that's something that I personally care about. I want elected politicians that care about healthcare, that we have access to healthcare, that we can, you know, have it for all our community. What is it something that you care about that, you know, affects you and your family that, you know, you would like to see a change on?
I mean, I'm really concerned about like LGBTQ stuff, and I just don't know like why should I even vote? Because no one even cares about us anyway.
Well, that's a really good point, right? So why if you think that they don't like care now, why don't we elect people who do care about it, right? Why don't we go and look at the different candidates that are running? What are their platforms? What are some of the candidates that do believe in that do want to make a change? They're willing to make changes. They're willing to fight the system in order to bring those policies that will affect you, right? That will make your life better and fair. Wouldn't you like to see a change there?
I would really like to see a change there.
Yes, exactly, right? We want to see a change there, but we need to have someone who can, you know, like someone in the office who can make those changes and is willing to fight for us. In order to do that, we need to go out and vote. Will you go out and vote for someone who is willing to fight for the issue that you care about?
Yeah, I'll consider going out to vote. Yeah.
Well, yeah, Celia, I really highly encourage you to really think about it because it affects you, right? It's an issue that you care about. And obviously it's not just you, right? It's people that you know, people that I know, right? And the only way we're gonna make a change is when we elect people in office that are willing to make those changes for the rest of us. So I really encourage you to do it. Do you think you can commit to go out and vote these coming elections?
I just don't even know if I'm registered. Like, I probably did it a while ago, but I moved a lot, and I don't really know, you know.
Well, we can confirm your voter registration. We can check on the county state, on the county's website, on the elections department website, and we can also look it up in the state website.
I don't really know what those websites are.
Well, don't worry about it. I can help you. If you're willing to give me your information, right, I can confirm in the website in the Harris County website, or actually, let me see if I can get this one open up and I'll tell you what is the information that you need to share with me if you feel comfortable with it. If not, we can also, I can also just give you the what's it, the URL for both the Secretary of State.
Can you just text me the information?
Absolutely, I'll text you the information right now. When are you, like, once you confirm that you're a registered voter, because we feel quite confident that you are a registered voter and that's why you're part of our list. When are you gonna go vote? How are you gonna go vote? We have the options to, there's the options to vote by mail, if you are eligible, of course, right? And also to vote early on election day.
I'm just really afraid of COVID, and like, I don't even know how I'm gonna go out there. Like, I don't even have a car. Like, I have to take a bus. So how do I just,
well, There's the early vote locations have different schedules, right? One, they're open, they're gonna be open the whole week. So you can go on any day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Is there a particular day that works best for you?
On Tuesdays.
On Tuesdays? Wait, okay. So on Tuesdays, it's going to be open from 7 to 7, right? The polls. And also, if you want to, we can find if you give me your address and we can put it here and I can give you the closest polling location, or if there's a place that you usually go to, right, on Tuesday, I don't know, let's say school, groceries, church, or the park or something that it's on the way, we can see if there's a polling location close to that as well. So you can go there. And also, you know, like once you're in the way, you can go vote, drop your, you know, and then you're done.
Okay. Okay then. And so, what was that website again?
HarrisVotes.com.
Oh, okay. And that's where I check if I'm registered.
No, yes, you can there. You can do both things there. You can check your registration status. You can check your nearest polling location. You can check the process on how to vote by mail. You can check the election day polling locations. But if you feel comfortable sharing your information with me, and if your address is this same one that we have in our database, which is 1123 Fake Street, is that still your current address? We can show you.
I'm just gonna go check it on my own. I don't really want to give more of my information.
Okay, that is perfectly fine. That is perfectly fine. Thank you so much for going out to vote. In Texas, we do need to have an ID. Do you have a valid ID, like a state of Texas ID or driver license ID?
I do.
You do? Okay, perfect, perfect. You do need to present that when you go out to vote, so make sure that you take it with you. And also, would you like us to send you an automated message once we get closer during the early vote time? So just to remind you, you know, like that's going on, just in case you forgot.
I don't really want to get more text messages. I have a lot of junk mail and things, and it's been really nice talking to you, but I have to go back to work. So I just really need to get off of the phone.
Okay, no, thank you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for going out to vote. And we might give you a second call just to remind you to go out to vote once we're closer to election day, okay? Okay, thank you. Have a good day. Okay, everyone. So that was a role play for Yuka and I. What do you all think? So like I said, pluses, deltas, things to improve, things that you notice that could work for you.
Do you guys want like absolute honest feedback?
Yes.
So if I'm being honest, for the communities that we're trying to reach, while I feel like you guys had a great conversation and great interaction, I don't want to be negative, but that does not work. That does not work. So many times I have been hung up on and just like disconnected. Don't get to even like mention what's going on. I think what for these things to be successful is that we have to re-envision, and I'm not going to say it's going to happen before this election, but we have to re-envision what these communities have happening in their lives. And the reason that I say that is because, and I'm not speaking to you guys in spirit right now, is that I told a friend right before I started this that I would do this, but I said that I see people in me. So I wouldn't want to pick up the phone and I'm on the other end, say, hey, you know, come on, vote, blah, 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 blah. Because I'm like, I'm busy. I have this happening. I have that happening, blah, blah, blah. I don't have time for this. But I do get the message. And basically for like all of this for me would be a reminder. Derek, you need to go vote. Derek, you need to go vote. But I don't want to hear all the extra that y'all saying. But I'm saying that in these communities, we have to figure out what they have happening in their lives and figure out how we can tune into that to get their attention through these calls. Either it's through these calls or it's through something. But the scripts that you guys have been giving us, they do not work. 90% of the time that I've called someone and I've tried to use the name in the caller thing, it was always wrong. So if I'm like, hey, you know, is this Robert? And the thing is saying Robert. So let's say 9 times out of 10, maybe it was Robert and they simply didn't want to talk to me. But after I got very far into the conversation and the person mentions their name, it was completely wrong on the script. Whatever it was completely wrong. So I realized early in this that I really can't throw names out there. I have to wait until they give me the information and then go back into the script and correct it. But we cannot do the name things because we're going to lose people every time.
Okay, what's your name?
I am so sorry, and I didn't mean to take this over, but my name is Derek.
Derek. Okay, Derek. Well, thank you for your feedback, and I do want to address that. One, the wrong numbers, it's not wrong. It's normal, right? That is nothing wrong with what you're doing. That is just the nature of what you're doing. That's the nature of the calls. You get wrong numbers. So don't let that discourage you, because that is just going to happen regardless, right? And no matter like this is like not something that we're went door to door asking people's names and phone numbers, right? So that is just the nature of the calls that happen, you know, during GOTV, right? That is just the nature. Now, on the script, you're absolutely right. You are gonna have a lot of people who are gonna want to hang up on you. Now, the reason, like, I know you mentioned that we just want to remind them to go out and vote, but we are not. Remember, these people are not going to vote. We're trying to change their mind about going out to vote. They don't want to vote. So that's why we have, like what you said, like this script that doesn't work, because when you say, hey, I'm just here to remind you to go out and vote, the person is gonna hang up and it's not going to go out and vote. That's why, like, I started with like the communities that we're trying to reach, which is low propensity, which means I am not going to go out and vote. I do not believe in the system. I don't care. I have, like you mentioned, they have issues, they have things going on. Voting is not something that they want to think about. We're asking them to think about it in terms of their issue, why voting affects them, right? And you're right, we're gonna have a lot of people that are gonna hang up on you. So that's why we wanna have that conversation of like, I'm here, like wanting to hear your issue. And yes, not everyone's gonna want to talk about their issue. You're absolutely right. I personally don't talk to my issues with people I don't know, right? So that's why we start with us to like being a little bit of what is that word? Like open up ourselves a little to them so they can know about us. This is a personal conversation. We're not just trying to sell them something. We care about this and we care about them personally, that person on the other side of the line, right? So we are not trying to just, it's not just about the number. While we care about the numbers, it's about the person, it's about the community, and that person is not gonna know that we care about them unless we have a conversation with them.
So can I respond really quickly?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's the key, what you just said. It's so it's about the conversation, and I say that because like I had some very Christian people that I truly believe in my spirit that it completely changed their mind about why this vote matters, and because their response to me was, I'm not going to go vote because I believe God put him in the White House, or put whoever in the White House, and I feel like God wouldn't make the mistake. So in this conversation, like I felt in my spirit to mention Revelations, and I don't know a whole bunch about the Bible whatsoever, but I said that even in the Bible says that there will be a person, an antichrist, who comes to the earth and does all of this stuff, and people are going to follow this person, and they're going to follow them into the end, and this person will be put in charge by the people. So when I said that, it resonated completely within her spirit, and she was like, I never ever thought about that. So basically I think what I'm saying is that like, I'm glad you guys give us a script. I'm glad you guys give us a number, but the way that we get in and reach these people is not through that script whatsoever. We just have to find whatever door it is to get in and exploit that door. So with what you guys, okay, so we're gonna do this, you know, and LGBTQ. So I feel that somewhere in that conversation is what happens that changes that person's mind to vote. So if you're just saying, okay, so you're gonna go out and vote, they're gonna, I don't give a damn, I don't care. I have other stuff going on. But in that conversation, regular conversation is how it changes the person's mind to get them to actually vote.
I think so. Here's the thing, like, you're not gonna repeat my conversation with them. So that's why I was saying, like, you all are having your unique conversation with them. You're not gonna repeat what I said. You're gonna have your own conversation.
Yes.
Can I say something after you, when you're done, Blanca? And
Yes.
This is Dorothy.
Yes, Dorothy, I'll have you on deck. Jessie had raised her hand, so I'm gonna.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna get Dorothy in, but just I think everything. Just to clarify, in case that was out there, what Derek shared was C3, C4. It was nonpartisan. It was nothing like. It was the message worked, and the script is intended to be as a guideline for the conversation. So you also don't forget that a lot of resources out there. But I do want to make sure that we can address some of the other questions that are coming in. And Jessie had raised her hand a moment ago. So Jessie, if you want to jump in and share, and then
yeah, jump in real quick, Oscar. I just wanted to say that I kind of do concur with what Derek was saying, but I know that on the ground, face to face, I'm running into challenges, and having a conversation with someone over the phone that I can't even see and that I don't even know, I really don't think I'm going to have the opportunity to get that far into the conversation because I don't even get that far face to face. So if we are permitted to tweak the script to how we think it would fit best, I definitely think that that would work a lot better, because there are so many opportunities where I'm seeing that can actually open the door up to have them even maybe think that we want to engage in a political conversation when that's the furthest thing that we want to do. So to nip that in the bud, it's like any personal questions that have been directed at me, like who am I voting for and all that, you know what, I act like I'm really trying to think. I'm undecided. Information, we have people on these calls that don't live in Harris County, don't even live in Houston. I think that elections hotline number to give to people, because everybody can't get online, to go to harrisvotes.com. And so that we're not giving the wrong information, even though we may think it's the right information. I think that that information should no doubt be included in the script. And I'm going to yield my time right there and get back on mute so other people have a chance to share. Thank you, Oscar.
No problem. Dorothy, if you wanted to share, I also want to mention right before Dorothy is that there is a lot of chat going around the fact that a lot of people hang up, like, and you don't even get that time. I think to Blanca's point, like maybe that's something where we can also start off moving forward, that is a high expectation about these calls. A lot of times you will get someone say that they're not the person when they very well end up being the person. I've had that happen before. So we don't really know whoever answers the phone, like if they are the person or if they're not the person they say. We sometimes get calls with people that their mom paid the bills instead of them. So the name is on that person. So I know that there is like a struggle with the data itself, but unfortunately, like that is actually the nature of how we get this data. We would love for every time someone answers that it would always be 100% that person that it's on that list. But not only do they move, they change phone numbers a lot, and that tends to happen in between of the campaign. So I just highlight that, and I'll hand it back to Dorothy.
Hi, thank you. And a lot of things that Jessie said, and you just addressed Oscar, was actually what I was going to say. You know, the tweaking, you know, the wrong calls and the hang-ups and all that. I'm you know, that's like she said, the nature of, you know, I worked in marketing before, so I know that don't even faze me in working for human resources. So I know that's what it's going to be, you know. And I put myself, when I get on a call, I know what I do. I pretend I'm not me. I hang up. If you know, it depends. And sometimes I give the person a break and I let them get it in. And if they get it in, then I like, listen, you know, the putting yourself into it, can almost be, you know, I don't know the gentleman that addressed the religious question. I actually had one of those, and the person said to me that, you know, God, this and that, and I just kind of steered it. I listened, and then I jumped right in and said that, you know, thanks for sharing that with me. You know, that's, you know, but I'm going to vote because I found that change does happen when my voice can be heard. So, you know, if you can get an in, you know, and as opposed to letting them go on, you know, because, you know, people can just go on with what their beliefs are, whatever, and we're nonpartisan. So I don't want to, you know, I don't want to put me into it either way. I just want to talk about me, what changes has done for me, you know, in my life by voting and the importance it is to me. So if we get that far, you know, so thanks.
Yes, thank you, Dorothy. Yes, exactly, right. So we are gonna get a lot of hangups. We're gonna get a lot of wrong numbers. That is just the nature of the calls, right? And not just here, but any calls, right? I don't know. I had to admit I don't usually do it, but I can't remember, like once or twice I did hang up on someone because I was just like, I don't have time for this right now, right? And I mean, I felt guilty afterwards because, you know, that person was just doing their job, right? But it will happen. It will happen, and more often that we will like it, right? But what we want to do is that person that allows us that those couple of minutes with them, that we make the most out of it, right? And like I mentioned, like you don't have to use the issues that you got used, that I used. You make it your own. Or if you want to focus this first in the issue that the person has before your issue, right? I mean, that is fine, but you know, if that is the case, I would like to hear like someone who would like to make if someone wants to make a role play on the calls, that will be great, right? Because so that the rest of us, like again, this is a place for all of us to learn. And actually, just so you'll know, like the calls at 1:30 that we want to have every day, what are we calling them, Oscar? You got the
caller connections.
Yes, the call connections. This is what the call connections are about, right? I say like, hey, I've been getting like, you know, I only get to say this, and the person hangs out on me on as soon as I say this statement, or as soon as I say that, or the person only says this, right? So we can just discuss, okay, what could be some other things that we can say that will get the person's attention just to stay a minute longer with us on the phone, because it's gonna be hard. We're gonna have people, you know, they disconnect the numbers, the wrong numbers, the people hanging up on us, and then another person saying, you know what, I already stayed, you know, more than a minute we on the phone, now I'm done talking to you. That is gonna happen, right? But how do we make the best out of it, right? And how don't we let it get to us? You know, I don't know if I said it in this space before, but the first time I made phone calls, it was, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. I was new into all of this. The first person that answered the phone, she was totally against what I was calling, and she yelled at me and called me names on the phone. I couldn't even react because, you know, it was my first time, my first caller ever. And it was just such an experience, right? Like that, I don't forget it. It was very memorable. But that happens, right? But it's not on us, right? It's not a reflection on us. And for all we know, the person was just having a bad day, right? We all have a bad day. And we just need to move forward, right? We continue what we're trying to do. We're trying to encourage our communities, thinking about what is the goal of this program, which is, you know, increase the turnout in our communities that, you know, historically low turnout, low propensity voters, right? So that is our goal, right? But we don't want people, like I mentioned earlier, to just turn out for the sake of turning out to vote, right? We want people to know that this is like, there's a reason why you should vote. There's a reason why you should, you know, elect a person, well, right? It's
just that again, the culture of what we're trying to get at is connecting with people. Majority of the people might not want to talk to us. I can't tell you, as a bilingual person, I can't tell you how many times I've been like, no hablo inglés, and hang up on people. Because and honestly, like as we ground ourselves into what we're trying to do, we're hoping to hear from you on how do we make sure that what we're doing is valued and that it's valuable to you and to your volunteers. Because I've said it all the time, which is like organizing is sometimes getting used to getting your heart broken. It's just part of the process. But I also know that people want to get started in some of the calls as well. And I'm not sure if we wanted to go through another practice or I think Tana had wanted to offer something to space.
Yeah, I mean, it's 3:30 and we have not gone over the resources. So I think we might want to cover the resources first, and then we'll do the dialer, right? So people know the flow.
Yeah, yes, definitely. But I'm not sure if you want to do another practice. And I see Jesse's comment too that yes, that there's a lot of feedback that's come from the text that they're either anti or pro something, and they can get very aggressive. Which is why we as Blanca goes over the dialer process, for those of you who haven't used it before, it'd be a good way of practicing, like, when do we just stop the call? Were you gonna practice one more time, Blanca?
I would say, like, let's, is anyone willing to do?
I'm willing, Blanca.
Yay! Thank you, Mona. Okay, so would you be willing to be the caller?
Whichever one you want me to be.
The person who will be calling me. I will be the voter. Is that okay?
I can't hear.
I want you to be the person who's trying to convince me to go out and vote.
Okay.
Yes. Perfect. Perfect.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm waiting for the call.
Ring, ring.
Hello?
Hello. Hi, this is Jessie Mona with H-Town Power, just calling people here, voters, registered voters in Harris County. Can I speak to Blanca?
Yes, this is Blanca, but I don't have much time right now.
Okay, sweetie, I just wanted to ask you real quick, were you planning on going to the polls to vote? You know, it's a very important election coming up this year. It's very important. Your voice is very important and you matter. So definitely want to get you to the polls and make sure your voice is heard. So are you planning on going to the polls? Do you know where to go vote?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't think I want to go out and vote. I mean, I really don't like the candidates.
We look at what's going to happen for a president, vice president, a U.S. senator, and you know that the Senate, senators and congressmen make the laws that we have to live by. So is how fellow immigrants being treated, minimum wage or the drug laws, are those a concern to you? Do any of those things matter to you?
Well, yes, they do. They do matter to me. But I don't know. They might. I mean, nothing changes really.
Well, see, the reason it doesn't change, Blanca, is because we don't vote. And that's why we keep getting the same thing over and over. But believe me, all we have is hope. We got to have hope. If we don't have hope, we don't have anything. And I agree. Nothing changes. Nothing changes because we don't vote to try to make it change. And we convince ourselves that we don't matter and our vote doesn't count. And we do matter very much and our vote does count.
You know what? You're right. Yeah, maybe it doesn't change because we don't vote. I'm still not quite sure, but I might go out and vote.
Well, you know, I think that's a good thing to do. I mean, do you have school-aged children here?
No, but I do have a nephew and a niece.
Okay, well, if they're in school, I mean, look at what's going on in the schools, you know, depending on where your zip code is. That depends on the educational level that the children are going to get, outdated books and all those kind of things. And so it's real important to even vote, you know, for our senators, our state senators, federal senators that are going to represent our state, as well as the state representatives to get funding. And I may add, may I please throw in that it's very important to get the census done. And we've actually been given an extension until the end of October. So if you haven't done that, you need to do that too.
Oh yes, yes, I did the census, but you know, you're absolutely right. I do want my niece and my nephew to have the best education that they can have. That's definitely something that I do care about. And yeah, I think I'll go out and vote for,
That's
you know,
great.
sure.
That's great because a
Yes.
lot of people don't have health care, and that's another very important issue that we need to stand up for. Is definitely health care. I don't have enough time to get into.
Oh, you put yourself on mute.
I would implore you to do is look up your candidates, Google them, look up their platforms and see what they stand for, and lend your voice to the ones who are going to speak to what's important to you, okay?
Okay, I will definitely go out and vote. Thank you so much for calling.
You're welcome. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye. Okay, thank you, Mona. Thank you so much for doing that. I do want to point out, you know, when I mentioned like I don't like the candidates, so that's something that we heard around as well. So that's why, like, when I mentioned the different, you know, like issues at the different levels, we want to remind people this isn't just about presidential candidates, right? This is about your local. And I really like when you brought that up, right, Mona, where like we also had the state people. We also have, you know, the senators. We also have this other stuff, right? Because we need people to get the presidential campaigns have right now like taken over, right? That's what it's out there right now. The media, like they're using a lot of space, but there's all of these other positions, right? That we're electing for, right? Judges, senators, as what is it? The sheriff, I think has been. There's an election also for sheriff and Harris County. So those are, we want to remind people, right, that this isn't just about the president, which is very important. There's no minimizing that. It's very important, but there's also a lot of other things that we need to vote for. And thank you so much, Mana, for doing the practice call. Okay, so I don't know, Anna, I think if you want to go over the resources. Is she still here? Right?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you so much, Blanca. Yes, and so this is connected to how we have provided the script. So everything that can be in terms of resources, everything that you want to share is under the HiA website, the HoustonInAction.org/elections. And so I actually wanted to show you, since Oscar is running the meeting, Oscar, if you can click on it so that folks can see it, just in case they haven't seen it. In HoustonInAction.org/elections, you do find all of the other resources that we're collecting. So that's really what this website is. It's a repository of information. And so what we do want to do is that we want to make sure that anything that you need to learn about registration, about going to finding locations for folks and polling locations, that it is all in the same space. So for instance, here you'll see that there's a voter registration application and where to drop them off as we are gearing towards the final dates or voter registration. Then this other part is also about how to vote early, where to find those locations, the curbside voting locations, and then as well the drive-through and how to vote different ways, how to deliver your ballot, how to vote from home, and then also November 3rd, Election Day. So again, these are not our resources. This is a compilation of everything we have found. And so this is also connected to questions that people may ask, right? So how do I check to see if I'm a registered voter? I actually did this a couple of days ago. So you will be able to see what is your nearest voting location at harrisvotes.com. by inputting an address, and you can also put the early voting or the election day, and you will be able to find all of the, the different details for how folks can vote. And so this is really to say that all of the resources are added into the script itself, but for you to also take some time and familiarize yourself with this Houston in Action website, HoustonInActions.org/elections, so that you can easily navigate it as you're making the calls. And of course, this takes practice, but as you're easily, you can easily navigate and really quickly be able to connect the dots in terms of what, questions are coming up for folks. Are there any questions or comments about, and again, those websites that are under the resources are also part of our partners. Vote Writers is there. They support folks with IDs and giving them information, so we definitely want to refer to them. So again, it's just a reminder, the more that you use them, the more that you are familiarizing yourself with them, the easier they will become whenever folks have a question about them. All right, pass it on to Blanca for the dialer.
Great. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, I think most of you, if not all, have already done calls with the voter registration. So this is very similar, right? So it's not gonna take us long. I just want, once again, repeat what Oscar mentioned earlier, right? In order to use a dialer, you need to make sure you have a laptop, desktop, or Chromebook. Tablets, Android tablets do work. However, it's better kind of like on the user end to have a bigger screen. So please use a laptop, desktop, or Chromebook if you have one. The second thing is use Google Chrome and make sure it's up to date, right? Make sure it's up to date, your Google Chrome. And always, before you start making calls, please do the test call to make sure that your speaker, right, and your ringtone are coming through, so you're able to hear the person that you have given permissions to the system, right, to use your mic, so that way you don't have any issues. Make sure that if you have issues, that you go through the frequent asked questions and it walks you through that again, right? Like are you using this device? Are you using this, this browser? Do you have the right link and things like that, right? So please go through the frequent asked questions first as you're having issues before, reaching out to your lead. Now, I do want to mention, right, like this, the calls. So the wait time, like don't wait more than 5 minutes. Don't stay hours without connecting to someone. Just stop making calls, right? If you're 5 minutes connected to dialer and you're not getting calls, do all this troubleshooting, right? And then if you're still not getting calls, then let your lead know. You should not be connected to a dialer for 30 minutes or even 15 minutes without you getting a single call, okay? That's something that we need to know and maybe change. Maybe we need to speed up the dialer. Maybe we run out enough numbers. Of course, this time we have a plan to stay on top of it. But still, we need to make sure that you're not on the line just waiting for more than 5 minutes, to getting connected to a person. Now, we are going to be making 4 passes, right? That is the goal, to make 4 passes on the phones and also multiple passes on the text. I think on the text we might do only like 2. But we are going to be removing people that we have talked to as we make the multiple passes, right? We're gonna be removing wrong numbers. We're gonna be removing disconnected numbers, people that we already have talked to, that have responded. We're removing all those out of our list for the following passes. So in theory, our lists are gonna get smaller with every pass. So Oscar, if it's okay for me to share, or actually, you know what, go to the next slide. Go to the next slide. Okay, so for those of you who have not logged in the past to the dialer, so like I said, I'm not sure if there's someone here, but your login is gonna be your email, and always use the same email, okay? Use the same email, and the password will be this one. I'm just gonna type it here in the chat. This is gonna be your password every time you log in. So your login credentials are gonna be your email, okay? And the same email every time. And yes, I have not given you the link just yet, but your email is going to be your login, and the password is going to be, okay? The first time that you logged in, you're gonna see after you put your email and that password and you click login, the system is gonna show this option, which is, you know, type in your full name, right? Type in your first name and then the last name. And then if you go next, Oscar, once you click on the login, and it's gonna register you and ask you to agree to the terms and conditions, okay? So before I give you the links, because I know as soon as I give you the links, you're gonna jump in to log in. So before I do that, I'm gonna share my screen really quick. Oscar, I think I do have permissions, right? To share my screen?
Yes, just give me 1 second. Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay. So now, this is the screen that you're going to be looking at when you're talking to someone, right? I do want to mention that your script is going to look different. So this time, I really took the time to do the Spanish version, so it's going to look slightly different, but you're going to have like a longer a script, right? So we want you to have your script always on the side. Please click bookmark this script that we share on today on the chat, so you can like just read through it, right, and make it your own. As Oscar mentioned earlier in the conversation, you don't have to say this word per word, but we want you, to make sure that you're asking the commitment to go out and vote, that you're asking the person their voting method, right? If they want to find their closest polling location, or if they need the process to the mail ballots, we need to make sure that we're asking them if they have a valid voter ID. And we know, yes, you don't always get that far in the conversation, but if the person is allowing you enough time to get through all of these calls, I mean, those questions, we want you to ask them, right? So that's why, like, please read through the whole script, make it your own, and also you'll have like the links to the different informations, right? As Anna mentioned, the different resources and where to find the polling location, where to find the resources for COVID, right? If you don't want to, if the person doesn't want to, go out and vote because of COVID. So you have all the resources there, and you also have the Spanish version at the bottom. Okay, so as you see here, this is once you log in. I mean, once you're logged in and you connect it to a live person, you're gonna see this option. Now, the difference between what you saw before and you saw, like you're gonna see moving forward, is this button that's up here that says Spanish, right? So this script is gonna change your script to the Spanish version. So if I click Spanish script, now this is all of it is Spanish, okay? So this is something that I finally took the time to set up. All right, so now all our scripts moving forward will have this option to just change from Spanish to English as needed. Okay. Another thing that I don't think it was brought up last time, or at least I don't remember, it was the moved option, right? When we're not able to talk to a person, so we added that as well. So if someone changed their address, that is no longer their voting address, we also added that option right here at the bottom. Right? And once again, we only want to track the data. Now, you can have, the conversation with anyone that answers the phone, but we're only tracking specific answers if this is the person that we're reaching out to, right? So you'll have the name of the person and their address at the top, right? So if this is Mr. Christopher Yates, then we want to go next and capture the answers that this person is giving you. If this is not Christopher Yates, right, it says they're answering the phone, maybe it's a wrong number, maybe he's just not at home right now, you can still have the conversation with them. We're trying to turn out as many people as we can, right, who are registered voters. But don't click next. Only click next once you have identified that this is Christopher Yates. Now, the reason we do that is because this is going to a database, and this is, we're assuming that we talked to this person and this person responded to that. Now, this is important because of follow-ups. If later on we try to follow up with Christopher, like the person that you talked to did want it to be followed up with, but then someone else is calling and they see this name in the database and they're asking for that, they're gonna say that's the wrong number, and then we're not gonna be able to have a conversation, right? So that's why it's very important that their responses, the actual responses of the person that we're trying to talk to. So once again, right, if you were not able to talk to the person, just choose the best response from the bottom options. Whatever describes best the reason that you were not able to talk to the person that you are looking for. There was a no answer, you left a message, there was an answering machine, they would say they were busy, they just refused to talk to you and hung up on you. It was a bad number. They say, do not, remove me from your list. Then you, of course, you add do not call. If it was a language barrier, you were not able to communicate with them, do add this. Or if there was another barrier, for whatever reason that you were not able to talk to them, if they died, if it's a wrong number, if they're not in, or if they're more, right? Once again, whatever describes best the reason why you were not able to talk to them, please mark it down here. Once you have been able to talk to the right person, you're gonna click next, right? And here's where you're gonna be tracking the response to will you be committing to go out and vote during the coming elections, right? Of course, the person's gonna say yes, no, I am not sure, I already voted, right? Some people, especially those that are voting by mail, some of them already requested the ballots and maybe they already mailed it back, right? So we might have some people say, I already did, right? So we have here the different responses. Now, as you can see here, I have like, if they say no, they're undecided, we want to make, once again, we once again wants to go, try to convince the person, or to go out and vote. Of course, there's only so much convincing that we can do. If they still don't want to, then we move on to the next person. And Tana is asking, do we use answering machines for full or not set up voicemails? I'm really not, if their voicemail is full, just put not in. Or you can also put not answering machines, because actually I'm putting those together in my records. What I do want to set aside, if you do leave a voice message, put it in left message. If it's something an answering machine and you just skipped it, in theory the system should skip them, because we have it set it up for the first pass to skip answering machines, just so we can get quicker through the pass. So just, but there's always the one or two who will make it through, right? That the system is not able to recognize that they're answering machines. Just put them, if you leave a message, put them a left message. If not, just you can mark it either as answering machine or not in, okay? And that will be okay. Okay, and right here, right, as you select the responses, right, it's gonna take you to the next question. And once again, if you don't select something here, it's not gonna allow you to go next unless you click the no response and then call, right? So we're gonna have this option in all our questions. So if at some point the person just hangs up on you because they're done talking to you, you can always choose that this person did not answer this specific question, and at that point, the conversation ended, right? So let's say that we had a person that said, yes, I will vote. I click next, right? And then it's gonna ask them about their issue. Now, this is a question you don't have to necessarily ask the question, because as you're having the conversation with them about their issues, right, you are gonna find out what is it that they care about, and you can choose from here without necessarily asking. Now, if the issue wasn't specifically explicitly mentioned, then ask them, so like out of these issues, there's something that you care about the most, right? And then track that. And we do have now like the other option, right? So someone has other, just put it there. Now, there are a lot of issues people can choose from, like there's endless issues. So try to choose the one that fits best, whatever the person tells you. And if it just doesn't fit under any of these issues, just put it under other, and that will be all right. Once you choose an issue, right, you're gonna go next, and it's gonna walk you through the different questions, right? When are you gonna go out and vote, right? Is it early vote, vote by mail? And as you choose that, it's gonna do a follow-up. So if I click on early vote, right, when I click next, it's gonna put this follow-up, hey, I can help you find your polling location. And as you can see here, we included the address once again here, so you're able to, like if the person is okay with you searching for a closest polling location, you can say, hey, are you still living in this address? I can search, you know, the polling location to this address here, right? So then the person's gonna say, yes, no, I'm okay, I'll search around, whatever the case, right? If they say vote by mail, when you click next, right, it's just gonna do the follow-up that it says, okay, you know, you can apply to vote by mail at any time, but the county clerk must receive, not just postmarked, your application by October 23rd in order to send you a mail ballot for the November general elections. Now, very important to send you the mail ballot. Okay, this person still needs to receive the ballot, fill it out, and then mail it back to the county. So we want people to, you know, just as quickly as possible to go through that process if they want to vote by mail. Once you click next, right, it's gonna once again walk you through the, okay, what is the next question, which is, you know, do you have a valid voting ID, right? And some examples, if they say no, or let's say I click on no, I don't have a valid voter ID. When I click next, right, I just have the follow-up here. Say, okay, we're gonna send your info to vote writers. They're gonna call you back and help you and walk you through the different IDs that are valid, right, that we might not know of, and can help you maybe even get one if you don't have one. And once again, right, if we go next, which is our, you know, will you share with other people about the importance of voting? And once again, assuming that the person lets you get this far, we know that at any point, the person can just end the call, okay? So yeah, we're just gonna ask them, hey, do you wanna share with others? The person's gonna say yes, no, right? And when we go next, and this is, again, right? Is it okay to send you automated messages? And we have a HiA no, like right here, no, for if they don't want to, they don't have to, right? So they say, yes, you know what, do send me voice messages but not text, or only send me text. I don't want to really hear automated voice calls, or maybe both. Oh yeah, I'm okay with both, right? Or they might say, no, don't send me any automated nothing, right? We just choose whatever the person wants us to do, and then next, right? And now this is the question of the follow-up. Now this one I made it slightly different because last time we had like all these issues with different lists. So this time I decided to just create a question that will just capture the organization specifically that this person talked to, right? So if someone wants to be followed up with by Houston, H-Town Power, Pure Justice, Engage, ECLC, or whatever, we are able to just specifically pick it from the back end of our list, right? So you're just gonna ask them, hey, do you like us to follow up with you? And then here you choose the list, from the list organization that you are making calls on behalf of, okay? And once again, assuming the person let you get this far into the script. Now we know not every single call is gonna go this far, but there's gonna be one, two, or a few of your calls that you're gonna be able to get through the whole script. Once you choose one, right, it's gonna end your script. And as you can see at all the questions, that gives you these options to end it. Once you click on the no response call at any point, it's gonna end the script, right? So you complete it and it will take you back to the queue where you will be, you will be able to connect to the person. Okay, so now, because we're at almost 4, so let me start sharing the links, okay? So I'm gonna drop the links right here in the chat. And I saw Daniel, so this is the link for Avenue. Oh, where's the chat? Houston Action, and let me send it to everyone. Okay, so this is the link for Avenue. Is there anyone for Baker? I don't recall.
I think Alondra from Baker is here.
Okay, so this is the link for Baker. Now this one's, once again, they're not gonna be posted on Call Fire, okay? They're gonna be, I mean on Call Fire, I always say Call Fire. And the Campfire that used to be posted, they're gonna be posted in the, what's the name of it, Anna? The voter thing, I forget the name.
What do you mean, the connection?
No, where we're gonna post these links for the partners. So
voter table base camp.
yes, thank you, Anna. The voter table base camp, the partners and the leads will have access to these links, okay? But we're no longer gonna be posting them publicly. So please, if you don't keep it somewhere, reach out to your lead and they'll have it, okay, for you. So this is, do we have someone from BPSOS? I think I saw Allison. So let me drop it. BPSOS link. And then we have, yes, so it will change. I'm not planning on changing it that often. However, like, we don't want you to share it with people unless they come, like, unless they come to the training, right? We need to make sure that they come to the training, and we know it's a long training, but it's a one-time training. So please do not just give it to people. They need to come to the training. We realized that a lot of people were then trying to make calls that had never actually gone through the training, and it made it more difficult, and it used a lot more of our time for the troubleshooting, right? Because they really hadn't gone through the devices, what their needs were, and all that stuff. So please do not share the link unless they have gone through training, okay? Let me see.
Can I get the link for Houston Justice, please?
Yes, Houston Justice. Okay. Houston Justice, GCLC, I have not posted it, right? Because I saw Gina here. So this is GCLC, HSM Power. So this is the link for HSM Power. Is here anyone from Engage? How about Pure Justice? Race Texas? Workers Defense. Okay, so I did not hear anything or any
Where's
comments.
the one from EHCEC?
It's Harris County?
Yes.
Okay, I just posted it here. It's right after the BPSOS link. And now, once again, like, the only organizers and leads will have access to it, right? So everyone else who's making calls, when they're having issues, you're gonna talk to your lead or your organizer within the organization that you're making calls for, right? So then they're gonna bring up the issues up to us after you have gone through the frequent asked questions. And I would like everyone to log in right now, because I wanna make sure that you're seeing the right link. So we tested them and we think everything's working fine. However, right, there's always the one thing. So please, everyone, make sure that you log in into that link and that you're able to see in the script the name of your organization. So for instance, I'm gonna log into this one. I think, let me see which one is this link. HDAM Power. Oops. Which link did I put here? Oh, I copy this. Okay, there you go. So let's say that I'm logging into HDAM Power. So my email, Espinosa.
Do we tell you if we can and can't?
Can you say that again?
Do we tell you if we can see it or can't see it?
Yes, actually, let me share my screen really quick because I'm still sharing, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you're gonna drop the link and make sure you don't, unlike me, who included H-Town, the word before the link. Just use the bit.ly only, and then log in with your email, right? With your email and that password. And it should drop, you should see here in the first sentence where it says, hi, this is with HTML, right? So this is what we need you to see. We added this on all the scripts, so we could identify the scripts, like the project that we are in, because we had to be looking at so many just by looking at that name. So please make sure that the link that you have says on the first sentence the name of your organization. And that means we definitely gave you the right link. Just to make sure, right? It's just double checking our work. That's what we're trying to do here. Okay, I see that Gina's list is fine, so is VPOS. Thank you so much for letting me know. And just before, I know most of you already, I think, because I see a lot of names, very familiar names, right? Thank you also for, by the way, helping out with voter registration. But once again, right, before you start making calls, always do the test call. Always, always do the test call. This has been, when people have come with troubleshooting, this was a big, flag. Please make sure that you do the test call. If you're not able to hear that or see it, then there's an issue with your ringtone and your speaker. Please, please, before you reach out to us, check your speaker, your mic, check your browser that you're using Chrome and it's up to date, and please check that you have the right device, right? Those are the first steps. And also one more thing, thank you everyone. I know we're already over time. Thank you so much for joining. Also, do not rely on the browsing history, right? So once I log out, let's say I finish making calls and then tomorrow I start making calls again, don't use this to log in. Put in the bit.ly again, okay? This is not the link that you're using. The bit.ly has a huge token attached to it, right? That directs you to that specific dialer. So please don't use this that is in your history. It's gonna give you an error. It's gonna tell you that it's an invalid user. Please, please put in the bit.ly every time, just so you don't run us with many issues, okay? And right now, I think that's it. Thank you so much for joining us. I don't know if there's anything else, Oscar, Anna, to wrap it up, but you should be good to go and make calls.
Yes, thank you so much, Blanca. I know we're a little bit over time. If you can give folks a sense of what is the best, what are the best times to call, and again, continuing to, to share. We'll have another training tomorrow in the afternoon from 5 to 7, and then on Saturday again at 11. So these trainings will be ongoing for anyone that hasn't heard the voter mobilization details, but what are the best times that people should be calling if they are available to do that?
Yes, thank you, Anna, for mentioning that. So we are really like recommending people to make calls after 2 o'clock, and of course ending at 7:30. Definitely not past 8. People get angrier past that time, right? Especially if it's already dark. So please, please try to stay within those hours. Now, the dialers themselves will be open from earlier hours. One, we will not be available to troubleshoot as quickly if there's any issues, right? But we're definitely kind of like on call from 2 through 7:30, right? We're paying attention to the dialers. We're looking at all the 12 dialers that we have there. John is gonna be watching that. If you haven't met John, say hi to John. He started about a week ago or so helping us with this. So please, if you are able to stay within the 2 to 7:30 time frame, do that. That's when we're gonna really be keeping an eye on the dialers. Another thing, and I forgot to mention this, please don't do less than an hour. Try to stay at least a full hour connected and available to making calls. Jumping off from the available to break to training and then logging off slows down the system as well, right? So please stay like a full hour available answering calls and the like. Now, don't wait an hour to get a call, right? If you're not getting connected to a person, please tell your lead that you're not getting connected to a person a lot sooner than the call. But if you're getting connected to calls, stay the full hour, right? That's when the system does its averages and we're able to say, hey, this is going too slow, let's speed it up, or it's going too fast, let's slow it down, right? It allows us to see if we see a lot of people like just coming in and off, that really makes it hard to get an average and a good speed for the dialer. So those are some of the things like we just want to mention. And once again, the 2 to 7:30, John, right, and myself as I'm available, will be paying attention to the dialer more closely. If you're making calls outside that time or on the weekends, we might not be so readily available. John and I might team target on the weekends, but we're still not sure how that's gonna look like. So just keep that in mind, that outside those hours might take us longer to get to you and troubleshoot any issues.
Hi, oh, I'm sorry, Blanca.
No, I see someone here that has issues logging in. If you can just stay a little bit longer so we can just troubleshoot since we're here.
Okay, I wanted to let H-Town Power know that we're putting a schedule together with the time that you have suggested for the dialer.
Awesome, thank you so much. Anna?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I was just trying to move to a different part of my house. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone. We'll drop the links of the dialer in the voter table Basecamp. So Blanca, if you can stay a little bit longer, but everyone else, feel free to start making those calls and let us know how they go. And we'll see each other tomorrow again for our afternoon training. Thank you, everyone.